everybody, my name is Jens Larsen. In this video I'm going to go over 7 levels of upper structure triads that you can use over a major 7 chord. So it's going to give you a lot of new sounds that you can use when you're improvising over a major 7 chord. Of course, I'm only demonstrating this on an F major 7, but it'll work on any other major 7 as long as you transpose it. I've put it into levels, so that means that the first level is going to just really help you convey that major 7 sound when you're using it. And as we increase the levels, they're going to be more and more exotic. And I'm also going to talk about a little bit about how I improvise with them, and also what scales go with them and what context you use them in. And of course, I play a short example of how they sound. If you want to learn more about jazz guitar, about improvising over chord changes, and checking out some interesting arpeggios and scales, then subscribe to my channel. If you want to be sure not to miss anything, then remember to turn on the notifications. The first upper structure triad that you want to check out is of course the one that's found on the 3rd of the chord. So for our F major 7 here, the 3rd is A, and the triad that you'll find there is an A minor 7. So that's this triad. And I think this is mostly just, you can already see this if I play a straight F major 7, then the upper part of that is a first inversion A minor triad. And I think it's mostly connected with just sort of the sound of this basic chord, and also therefore basically the F major scale. If you play a short solo with this, it sounds like this. Instead of just moving up in thirds in the chord, so that we will go from A minor to C major, I chose to do another one for the 2nd level, and that's the D sus4 triad. So the D sus4 triad, if you relate this to F, then you kind of have an F with the major 3rd, the 6 and the 9. So you have some nice extensions, but you still have the 3rd in there, and that way you kind of still stay connected to the chord. And if you play a short solo with that, that sounds like this. First 2 triads that I talked about, you will probably mostly connect just with a basic F major sound. This next triad, which is the major triad found a whole step above the root, so it's the G major triad in this case, is really conveying a Lydian sound because we have the B in there, which is a sharp 4. And actually we don't really have too much of a connection with the basic chord, because we have the sharp 11, the 9 and the 6 in there, or 13. So when you're using this, you can of course really get that Lydian sound across, but you might also still want to have some other notes in there. As you can tell with the solos that I'm playing, I'm not only playing the triad, because of course you want to know what the triad sounds like, but realistically when you're playing and improvising with these triads, you're going to be using the notes of the scale as well. So in this case I'm using the Lydian mode and the G major triad. Most of the time when we're talking about the upper structure triads, we're only really looking at the major and minor triads, and in a way that's a little bit of pity. So this 4th level triad is again a sus4 triad, and the advantage to this sus4 triad is that we get still the Lydian sound, so we have the B, the sharp 11 in there, but we also have the major 7 and the 3rd. So we actually have the sound of the chord, and then the flat 5 or sharp 11 sound, and in this case then that's an E sus4 triad, so that's this triad. That's another way to get the sound of sort of the Lydian sound across, and in this case you can actually just play the triad and then also really get the sound of the chord quite well across as well. That sounds like this. I'm moving into some triads that are moving further away from just the basic F major 7 sound, or maybe just an F major 7 Lydian sound, and really something that's sounding distinctly different than just a basic F major. So in this case, I'm using an A major triad, so that's the major triad from the 3rd of the chord. And that means that I'm changing the chord from an F major 7 into an F major 7 sharp 5. And the way I'm using it in the example that I'm playing, so I'm using the A major triad, and the way I'm using it scale-wise is that I'm playing it as a Lydian augmented sound. So that means that it's D melodic minor that I'm using. And of course the A major triad is really good for that. The combination of the A major triad and the G major triad is really good to get that sound across also. Another upper structure that you can use to really add a lot of color to your improvised lines on the F major 7 chord is to use the triad that's a half step below the root. So if we have the F major triad here, so of course a half step below the root is from the major 7, so that's an E, so that's up here, and then E, I'm playing an E major triad, so that's E, G sharp, B, so that means that I have the major 7, the sharp 9, and then the sharp 11. And scale-wise, this is the same as playing A harmonic minor over an F major chord. And you will find this used. There are a few monk tunes and also a few Wayne Shorter tunes where you come across this type of sound. Round Midnight has it, and Speak No Evil has it as well. It's not very common, but it's also a nice way to just throw some new sounds in there if you have longer stretches of major 7 chords that you want to have some other sounds on. Then the combination of course, when I'm playing the E major triad, I'm not really playing anything of the basic sound. So most of the time when you're using this, you want to combine it with something that's a little bit closer to the F major as well. So triads pair, and in this case, like the triad pair of an E major and an F major triad will work really well if you're familiar with improvising with triad pairs, of course. Last level of upper structure triad that I want to talk about in this video is the one from the flat 6. So we have the F major here, then the flat 6 is D flat, and then I'm playing a D flat major triad here. So that's a D flat, so the flat 6, the root, and then the sharp 9. And the scale that I would normally use with this would be the F augmented scale. So you will probably also, if you're already familiar with the augmented scale at least, remember that that scale consists of 3 major triads in major thirds distance, and that the scale is also symmetric in major thirds with everything you do. So whatever you play in that, you can move around in major thirds. So you get the F, D flat, E, back to F, those kind of patterns. And that sounds like this. And a solo using the D flat upper structure triad would sound like this. Of course, it's possible to have a lot more choices for upper structure triads, and I'm also curious if there is something that you're using really a lot that I didn't talk about in this video, then leave a comment, and especially if there's something with another scale sound than what I'm talking about here also that you think is really nice to check out, because we're all looking for options, and that's really what these level videos are about for me. I make them just for you guys to get some ideas of what you can use, but also the feedback that I get in the comments is also going to give me some new ideas. So please leave a comment if you have a great example. If you want to learn more about jazz guitar and this is the first time you see one of my videos, then subscribe to my channel. The videos that I publish here every week are on finding some solid methods and good strategies to check out all the interesting things about jazz guitar and improvising. If you like this video and you want to help me keep making videos, then check out my Patreon page. It's because of the support that I'm getting from my patrons that I can keep making videos every week. I'm very grateful for that. And if you join us over on Patreon, I can also give you something in return for your support. That's about it for this time. Thank you for watching, and until next week.